Hello, hello! Welcome, crafty friends. My name is Lynn, and I'm really excited and a little bit nervous too because I'm going down a rabbit hole, folks. You all don't have to follow me down this rabbit hole, but I picked up the Silhouette Mint, and I'll tell you why. I wanted to get the We Are Makers stamp forge that was announced months and months ago, like I think 3-4 months ago, but only just now became available on for purchase on HSN. And so in doing my research on the We Are Makers stamp forge, there aren't a lot of videos. I basically could only really find the We Are Makers announcement video for it, and it looks very exciting. If you don't already know, it essentially allows you to create your own photopolymer stamps. But what I saw is that there were a lot of people asking questions about whether it's the same as or how is it different from the Silhouette Mint, which I had never heard of, but this has been out for like 8 years now, so I don't know where I've been. But you can see it says here custom stamp maker, and it's pretty fabulous as I started to do more and more research. And so I picked it up because you can get it now. I think when it originally released, it was a lot more spendy than what you can pick it up for now. And this might have been a little bit of an impulse buy, but because I did order, just spoiler alert, I did order the We Are Makers stamp forge, but I also got this, and I'll tell you why. For one, it's good video content for my channel. So yes, as a video content creator, I do sometimes do things with that as a primary reason. So just to let you all know, sometimes the purchases I make, sometimes the content I create, it is for the sake of growing my channel. But sometimes it's because I have personal needs and preferences that I can't help but to indulge. So this video is a first look video. This is how I do my product reviews. Is my first look videos is a an out of box experience, as it's called in other industries. It's basically my first use, my unboxing, and my honest opinion as I'm going through this as a first time user. And so I'll do this with the mint, and as well when my We Are Makers stamp forge arrives, I'll do a first look and a deeper dive product review of that as well. So if you're looking for this to be the be-all end-all tutorial of how to use the mint, likely that you're not in the right spot for that, because this is my first time going through it. I have done a lot of research. I have watched a lot of other videos. I somewhat know what I'm doing. I have a design prepared, and I'm ready to make my first stamp. All that said, though, I've never done this before, so this is going to be a first for me. So as I kind of open everything up, I will show what all comes in. I'll talk about what all comes in the bundle that I got, but I want to let folks know a little bit about what I have researched and what I've learned in terms of how is this different from the We Are Makers stamp forge that just recently came out. As of the time of this recording, it's recent. So the technologies are two entirely different technologies. So the Mint machine here is a thermal printer. It's a thermal printer, meaning that it actually doesn't print any ink or any medium out onto the substrate, but it actually applies heat and pressure to print an image onto something that is heat and pressure sensitive. The resulting output in the case of the mint is a rubber stamp. That's different from the We Are Makers Stamp Forge, which is not a printer. It is a UV lamp, and it is it actually results in a photopolymer stamp that you create a stencil to design, and the UV light will actually react to the photopolymer stamp, which is light sensitive as opposed to heat and pressure sensitive. And what essentially happens is that a portion of your design remains raised and lifted, and a portion of that photopolymer stamp is actually scrubbed away, literally. And you get two entirely different products. They're made in entirely different methods. And what I'm going to do is take the same design and compare and contrast them with each other to see which one yields the better result. And that might actually be different just depending on, what type of image you're going for. So the way that they are made, how they are constructed, pretty much everything is as different as I think you could get. So, let me go through what all comes with the mint. I have not yet received my stamp forge yet, so I'll do that first look video later. So here we have the mint machine. You've got your power cable. You have a USB cable to connect this to your computer, and that is how you're gonna get your design to get printed. This is essentially a printer. It's a thermal printer. The substrate that we're working with, that we will be printing on, is this. This is what Mint calls a stamp sheet. And they are sold as kits that come with a stamp block. This is a stamp holder, essentially, with a lid. And you always get 2 adhesive labels. Now, the black portion that you see here, it's under a little bit of plastic. Do not remove that. But that black strip there, that's the actual stamp. That's a thin, kind of piece of rubber, essentially. It's not like as thick as your red rubber stamps, for example, but that's the material of the substrate. It's rubber underneath there. And what will happen is this card gets inserted through the Silhouette Mint, which is a thermal printer, and it's going to print your design right onto here, and it's going to come out the other end. And I'll go through this entire process, but I just want to give an overview. What happens is you have this block, which might be something like MDF, which is compressed sawdust, essentially. And these stamp holders here, they are designed so that you can click them in. They have a lid, and this is just a bit of squishy foam here. So it's kind of like making your own foam-mounted rubber stamp. When your design is printed out, you can remove this liner, attach your stamp to this holder here, this foam, And then what you'll need to do is actually ink it up. Now, this is where this type of stamp is pretty different to anything that I've seen. I'm so surprised I have not seen this before, but it is pretty different. So it's not a self-inking stamp. So, for example, I have this, and I'm going to create something that I use this to stamp a design onto the card base whenever I make a card. And this is what's called a self-inking stamp, because there's actually an ink pad here. And when you push this down, you can see the design, it's engraved there. It looks like it's engraved onto maybe photopolymer or some kind of polymer plastic. And then you can watch this, see how it flips? It flips and then it goes back. It goes back up, and this right here is an ink pad. Right there is an ink pad, which you can actually slide out if you need. And you can actually re-ink this. See how that has an impression of my stamp design? That's because when the stamp is in its resting position, it goes all the way back and it's making constant contact basically with the ink pad. That's why it's called self-inking. It recesses, it inks itself back up, and then the next time you push it down, it's got some fresh ink that it can stamp and deliver onto your substrate, whatever you're stamping on. These actually cost, I was going to actually buy another set of these because I want to add more than just my LV Handcrafted kind of logo, but I want to put my social handles and to let folks know that I'm on all of the socials. Well, not all of them, but Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. And I wanted to use at LV Handcrafted so they know how to find me. And so that's what I designed. That's what I'm going to make today. The way that this stamp works, it's different to that. It's not self-inking. It's actually, and it's not the kind of ink that you would take an ink pad to and stamp. It actually gets pre-inked. I guess that's the term that I'll use. I haven't really read that, but it's a pre-inked stamp. So essentially, once you create this, and I'll go through this whole process, we'll do it all once, but I just want to, let folks know what it is we're doing. Once you have your design printed and mounted, you can pre-ink it with various different colors if you want to use different colors or the same color, whatever you want. And let that ink soak into this rubber. And then you're going to be able to make multiple impressions. And what I hear constantly promoted by the various different tutorials that I have watched is that you can stamp for up to 50 times. That's gonna totally vary depending on how much ink you pre-ink this with. If you were generous, maybe you can go the full 50. If you were a little bit scant with how much ink you put on here, it might not last the whole 50. The whole idea of this is just that this is pre-inked, and you can go, you don't have to, apply an ink pad to this. It's not self-inking in the way that this is. It's just ready to go and stamp whenever you're ready. And then at some point, that ink is going to run out. And you're going to have to do the same thing where you reapply ink to it and pre-ink it again. And that might be an opportunity to change up the colors if you're not happy with the colors that you originally chose. Because that's the other thing that's a little bit of a benefit. I see this as a big perk to using this. It's a big pro to using this because depending on how you've designed your stamped image, you can actually put multiple different colors if you have multiple different elements on your stamped image. which is not possible for, I don't believe, for a custom stamp like this, and very hard to do for like a photopolymer stamp to like partially ink up different areas. So let's get started. Let me continue with what comes in the package. So this is a 15 by 60 millimeter stamp kit. The stamp kit, as I showed, it comes with a stamp block and the stamp pad itself and 2 labels. So we have one stamp kit in 15 by 60 millimeters, and we have a second stamp kit in 30 by 30 millimeters. Now, when you go to buy more of the consumables, more stamps, blank stamps, they come in a variety of different sizes, more than just the 2 in this particular bundle. And they also come in 2 different types of packages you can get. You can get a stamp kit that comes with the stamp block and 1 stamp. So you can make 1 stamp from this. Or you can get it as just what they call stamp sheets, which for the same price, you do not get a block, but instead you get a second stamp. This full set right here, you get a second set just like this. I think you would save yourself a lot of time, but it just kind of depends on your usage. If you only got 1 kit for each size, and then you got multiples, you got the stamp sheets, where you can get 2 stamps for the same amount of money as the kit. Just use the 1 block, the 1 holder here, and you can interchange your stamps. And that way it's easier to store. You get more stamps for the same amount of money, and you don't have to store multiple of the blocks if you don't need them. Maybe you do need multiple in the same size. So those are sort of the refill options for the stamps. The bundle that I got comes with 4 different colors. So you have black, blue, red, and yellow. There's also this for reading the instructions. I've seen a ton of tutorials, but what I'm actually going to do is I am going to pause my first look video, because I like to do this in real time with you, but I want to pause it to actually read through this myself. I'm pretty confident I know what I'm doing, but it does help to always read the instructions. So I'm gonna pause to do that, and then I'll pick the video back up, and also just make sure that I have everything prepared that I need to make my first stamp. So that's the Silhouette Mint, and what all came in the kit that I got, how it differs from the We Are Makers Stamp Forge, at least in concept. Now, in practical use, I don't know. I'll know that soon, because I did buy the Stamp Forge. So in a few weeks, maybe I'll have that video whenever that arrives to my doorsteps. So I will go ahead and pause here, get things connected, get things all wired up, and then I'll meet you back up and we'll make a stamp. Okay, I think I'm ready. I read through the steps in the manual. There's actually a lot more here than what I will go through, but essentially we are to check that we got everything that we were supposed to get done. Install Mint Studio software. So let me show you how to get that, because it comes with, oh guys, this is like how long I should say this product has been around. It's been around so long that it has a CD included with the software, which I think these days you just don't see very much anymore. So here's how I got it, because my laptop doesn't even have a CD ROM drive or reader. But basically, I'm at the silhouetteamerica.com website. If you go to software, then scroll until you see Mint Studio. This is a free software, so you just need to choose whether you're on a Windows machine or on an Apple machine, and download and install. Whichever, after it downloads and everything, install it. However you do that on your computer, on a Windows, you just double click the executable file. And on my machine, I actually had to reboot my laptop because that was what was required. And so I've already done that, and I'll show you the software when we get to that point. Then I've got the next step is to connect the Silhouette Mint. So there are two cables. One cable is a USB cable that gets connected to your computer, laptop device. The second is a power cable, so that gets connected to your power outlet. So that's all done. This is the power button to actually turn it on. Next, they have us going through the Mint Studio. That's the proprietary software that you need to use in order to get your design onto your custom stamp. So let me show you that. So when you launch Mint Studio, this is what you see. You can make it so that you don't see this again, but basically there's options. You can either design something from scratch. You can visit the Silhouette store to get digis if you don't have a design. You can visit your library, which I've already gone ahead and uploaded the design that I want to print, but it's kind of preloaded already with some designs. So if you want to get started, but you don't have anything custom made and you haven't purchased anything, it looks like it does come with 50 some odd, I think it's 50, and it's all the designs that are like free for you to use and are probably already designed for a specific size stamp. Likely specifically the ones that actually come included in the kit. And so we do already have those. And then you can just design a new stamp. So if we click new, on the side here, you'll see the various different stamp sizes that you can get. These are listed in millimeters. So we have 15 by 15, 30 by 30, 45 by 45. So 3 different sized square stamps, and then 4 different sized rectangle stamps. 30 by 15, 60 by 15, 60 by 30, and 90 by 45. So what comes included in the kit is, in the bundle that I got, is 60 by 15, that's this long one here, and 30 by 30. So those are the two that you can make right out of the gates. There is a larger bundle that I believe includes 45 by 45, and I will note that I plan to purchase more. I haven't yet, but in looking for more of the stamp kits and more stamp sheets, not all retailers sell all sizes. And so if you actually pop over to the Silhouette store, or website, I should say, there's you can search. If you search for Mint stamp, because for me it was a little bit hard to find everything, but here's what's available. So you can buy these directly from the Silhouette online shop, but what I found curious is that they don't actually carry the sizes that come in the bundle. These are all different sizes, so I haven't yet put in an order. And what I could find on Amazon, I couldn't find these exact sizes either. So it's a little bit of a journey to try to find these. And I imagine that's because it's a product that's been around for a long time now. Hopefully they continue to support it. But today I'm going to make a 60 by 15 stamp. And what I've done in advance is I designed, so I already had this design because this is what I wanted to make I actually wanted to get one of these. I was literally about to buy another custom self-inking stamp. But for, like, they generally run something like $12, I think, minimum, and that's before shipping costs and tax and everything. And this I purchased for $50 on Amazon, free shipping, all of that. So I already had something designed. It looks a little something like this. And what I did was I wanted to just make sure that the size, the 15 by 60 wide by 15 tall, that if I print this onto a stamp, that it's all still legible. And so what I did was I made this in Photoshop, saved it as a PDF file, and then PDFs have the option to print actual size. And so that's what this is, so that I can see the actual size of the, cause it's designed in high resolution, so it will enlarge, it will shrink, with minimal, loss. But I want to see it as it's going to be, printed on the stamp itself, and make sure that it's legible and that it looks the way that I want. So I would definitely recommend, if you are going to, design something, maybe do a little test print onto paper, because it's certainly cheaper than printing it onto your stamp blank, only to find that it's not legible or it's not exactly what you want. I still don't know if this is exactly what I want, but at least I have a good preview. And I just printed it in draft, mode, so it's not the most crisp. Hopefully it's more crystal clear when I actually print onto the stamp itself. And I'll tell you why I find this process to be helpful is because I actually made this one to do the 30 by 30 in this first look video, but I literally just picked this up off of my doorstep and wanted to start making a stamp right away. But this is my preview of the 30 by 30 that I designed, and I don't think that's going to read very well. I think the Handcrafted in the center there, I think this is going to struggle with that. And so I might have to revisit the design of this. And, because that is my square logo design, but I might have to modify it or thicken the brushstrokes or something, because what my thought is, I want to do LV in one color and then maybe Handcrafted in black. So maybe blue for the LV and then Handcrafted in black. I kind of want to play with two different colors on that one. And similarly, although it would have been a good idea to actually print this in color, but I kind of want to do the same here. I want to have the line with the swoopy heart in one color, LV Handcrafted in another color, and maybe I'm on YouTube, I don't know. But definitely I wanted the swoopy heart to be a different color. So we'll play with that. It was helpful to do the test prints. I'm actually going to forego. I'm not going to do this one just yet. I'll redesign and come back with maybe an actual tutorial video. 'Cause who knows if I'm going to be successful with this first one. Alright, I'm prepared. But I can't say that I've done it before. Okay, so then switching back to our software here, what I want to do is I will go to the library where I've already loaded my design, the one I just showed you. And it put it here, which is not on the actual canvas of what will get printed, but you can move it. So you can just grab it and move it. And position it just how you'd like to see it. There's a lot of options for actually creating your design, even from directly within Mint Studio. So you can add text. So let's say you're working with a graphic from the library and you want to add some text. There's fonts here. These are all the fonts that you actually have installed on your computer. You can do alignment. You can do a lot of different things, including putting your text on a curve. Lots of different options there. And so there's a lot that you can kind of use to create with directly in Mint Studio. I mean, it's a proper kind of design software, and it may not have all of the features that you might find in something that's a little bit more robust like Photoshop, but it has quite a lot there. So even if you don't have Photoshop, there's a lot that you can do with it. So since I already have this designed, I'm just going to center middle, or I'm gonna do center to stamp. So I selected my graphic here, object, align, and center to stamp. So let's say I was very off. So let's say it was like that. Then if you do the line center to stamp, it just repositions everything so that it's nice and middle and, horizontally and vertically centered onto how it's going to print on your actual stamp, which could be nice. And I've seen other tutorial videos where you can select a group of objects, like if you had more than one object, and you can just center those objects with each other. So that's an option too. There's lots of different filters that you can apply to your image. So this is standard. There's realistic. I don't know how much of these will actually differ once you print them, but they can give you different effects if you're looking for these different options, which I think it's kind of cool. Just depending on what you're using it for, how you're using it, it can be kind of neat to have all of those. So I'm going to not do any of those, and I think it applied something, so I'm actually just going to delete that and make sure I just get a fresh one, and we'll just recenter that again. And make sure nothing is applied to it that we don't want. Okay, so I am going to then show, there's lots of options here. I haven't really played with them all, but basically when you're ready, you can go send to Mint. And if everything looks good, what you can see here is that it actually has already mirrored the image for us. So we don't need to do anything to mirror it. The software automatically does it right before you go to print. So you don't have to worry about that. I might play with this a little bit more just to try to smooth everything out. I mean, you can kind of play with these different dials to see what's gonna look good. Oh, the other thing I want to note is that even though I've got like a touch of color here, that's actually, the color doesn't really matter because it's not going to print in any kind of color. All it's going to do is essentially thermal print the image, but the thermal printing is reactive. The rubber and whatever this plastic on top of this, it's reactive, and essentially what it does is it prints, everything surrounding your image, and what that causes is for your image to actually be raised. It's kind of like a relief, and so it's kind of cool in that way, but it's not it's not going to impart any color on there. So we'll see how this goes, because right now it looks kind of fuzzy, but hopefully it prints better than that. Okay, so as you can see, I've got red warning signs here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn my mint on, and now you see that red is gone. It says ready. And so I can just click Start Mint, and you can see the status down here. It says Insert 15 by 60 stamp sheet. So this is the 15 by 60 stamp sheet. Again, do not remove the plastic. It tells you which side, there's an arrow to show you, which way to feed through. Feed it from the back. This little notch here actually tells the machine what cartridge, what size stamp sheet this is. And so, my understanding is that, I haven't tried it, but my understanding is that, that is how it detects that you've got the correct, the correct one in. So I'm going to, you can see there's a slot back here. So I'm going to just slide this in until the machine grabs it. Oh wait, I gotta do Start Mint again. I talked so long that now it's blinking, so now it's ready to accept, and you don't have to push very hard. At some point it's going to read it, and you saw that it went back and forth a little. I think it was reading this notch to see if this is the correct one, and I think it would have spit it back out if it wasn't the correct size. So I'm not going to test that in this video, but I'll try to test it just to confirm my assumption is correct there. But at the bottom here, you can kind of see how it says status printing. And this is blinking, so it's not done yet. Just let it do its thing until it stops blinking. And you can kind of see it coming out. Because I'm filming this in real time, this will give you a sense for how quickly, how slowly it prints. And it's done. And so down here we have print succeeded, and now the mint is ready for your next print. So that's returned to solid now. And so now I can take this out. And that's as easy as it is. I mean, in theory, I have just made a stamp. So let's see how this looks. Okay, so there it is. You can kind of see it's raised a little bit. See, the plastic is still on here. I can feel that it's raised. It does look pretty crisp. Look at that. I mean, it previewed kind of iffy on the screen, but let's see how it stamps out. I would say looking at it, it's not quite centered, even though we said center to stamp. Doesn't it seem like it's closer on this edge than it is on that edge? Okay, that's just me. Alright, so now we need to actually mount our stamp. So what I'm going to do is, this is the stamp block, like the holder, and then this is the stamp, the mount for it. And there's a perforated line through this cardboard here. You just bend this at that perforation, and that should give you access to your stamp. So you can kind of pull your stamp off of this liner here. And I'm going to be careful not to get my fingerprints and any oils from my fingers on the face of this, but you can kind of see that's how it looks. Pretty nifty. Okay, so now we need to mount this onto our block here. So, I mean, I'm technically done with the mint. I'm just gonna turn this off. Okay. You know, there's little rubber feet at the bottom, so it does help. Oh, now that we're looking at this, hold on, before I mount, I did read this in the instructions. So there's nice rubber feet, so it's kind of nice on my glass mat. It doesn't slide. And then also it said that if you're feeding it through and for some reason it actually gets stuck, there's a release lever here. So this lever, you just flip it over to release, and then you should be able to pull it out. You know, there should be like a portion that's, you know, still stuck out, and then you pull it out and then flip this back to print, and I think that clamps it back down again. So if you ever need, that's something that you can troubleshoot with if that happens. Okay, so now we need to actually mount this. So let's mount our stamp. I'm going to pull off the liner to the foam here to reveal the adhesive. And just gonna hold this by the edge. I don't wanna touch the adhesive. That's gonna make it less sticky, and I don't want to get oils and fingerprints on this before we've kind of pre-inked it. So I'll just try to get this lined up as best I can here. Okay, I think that's pretty good. I've got my scrap piece of paper here. And what I'm going to do is I want this to be pushed down well, but I don't want to burnish with my fingerprints. So this is so cool. This is very neat, folks. I gotta say, I'm very excited by this. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is we need to ink this up. Now, the question is, so my lines are really close together, and I'm pretty confident I can get LV Handcrafted and, you know, on YouTube, blah, 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 different colors, but can I get that line to be a different color is the question. Because if I could make the line with the heart blue and then do black for everything else, that might be something kind of interesting. Let's just try. I've got the mint ink here. From what I read, I think this is a oil-based ink. And so let's try to get, it's got a pretty fine nozzle tip. So let's see. Oh, it's pretty easy to squeeze out, by the way. Like, you don't have to apply a ton of pressure. So what's gonna happen is I'm gonna ink this up, and you can kind of see the ink sitting on the surface. It is going to sink into our printed design, and everything outside of the printed design is actually going to be, it's actually going to be a little bit of a resist so that it doesn't pick up any color outside of what we've printed. Now, how much do we add? I think using this more, I'll maybe get a handle on that and be able to gauge it better. But that's what I've done so far. I just want to make sure, and it was recommended if you have like a little toothpick or something that you can use like a little fine tip toothpick to try to really, you know, get this exactly and only where you want, especially if you are trying to do multiple different colors and you don't want the colors to bleed into one another. I'm not sure how successful I'm going to be at that, trying to get that line of blue. But I've got the black there. Let's see how... If I can leave enough space for in the center, then I'll attempt the blue. But if I don't think I can leave enough space, I might not attempt it. But we do need to, once this is pre-inked, we do need to give it time. 5 to 10 minutes is what has been recommended. And so it does need a little bit of time to just soak in. So don't worry about inking up like the entire surface. It's going to be a waste if you do. Because the only bits that are... See, I already got some... Yeah, see, I already got some onto the line. Okay, we're going to keep this one simple, and I'm just going to stick to one color. But, you know, the nice thing is that once I work through all of the ink that's been applied to this, I can always just come back in and re-ink this in a different color. So, do you see the top part, the LV Handcrafted? See how there's less ink on the surface? That's because it's been soaking in. I'm slow enough at this process that it's already visibly soaked into the rubber stamp. And so I'm not going to try to add more ink. I'm just trying to move what's there around so that it's got a little bit more even coverage, and we get whatever ink I do have there, hopefully will all get soaked in. So, and I tend to be a little bit conservative about these things, and so we'll see whether I've actually applied enough ink. That's probably going to be my biggest problem, is that I might not have put enough ink, because I tend to be conservative, but that's okay, because you can always add more. And like I said, once this goes through, and I've inked it enough times to use up all the ink that's soaked in, then that just gives me an opportunity to come back and re-ink it again, maybe try it again in a different color. So I'm gonna again give this a little bit of time to soak in, 5 to 10 minutes, and then I'll pick right back up and move on to the next step. Okay, so I am back again. It's been a good amount of time. I didn't actually time it, but you can kind of see that the ink has soaked in quite a fair bit. And so now we can basically start stamping, but what we want to do is get all of that excess. There's still a lot of ink on the surface there. So what's recommended is to just stamp to basically blot the excess until you don't have that extra. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Wow. So I'm at 10, and I think I've just about got all of the surrounding. Now, it's fairly cleaned off, I think, but I'm just casually stamping. I'm not trying to get a really good impression, but let's aim for a nice solid impression and see how well this has done. So now I'll be a little bit more intentional with it. Really kind of, oh, maybe I pushed too hard now because I got a little bit of the surround. Okay, so it's a little bit of you have to find the right touch. So it's Pretty cool. And it was so fast to do. Yeah, you don't want to super firmly push down on this. It's almost better. Yeah, like a casual stamp is almost better. Now, I feel like the bottom line of text is a little bit, it's missing, you know, a couple of pixels here and there. I feel like there's some gaps, but for the most part, not too bad. Pretty cool, in fact. Okay, so now there are labels, and why are there two labels? Well, let me go ahead and stamp one out. So I'm just gonna try my best to get this straight and centered. But basically, it's so that you know where, you know, what stamp this is. When it's all closed off, you're not gonna know what this is. The cover is nice because the cover helps to prevent that from drying out. And so I am going to put a label. How fast does this dry? Oh, the ink dries pretty fast. Well, that's kind of nice. It's oil-based, but it might be an oil-based dye ink. You know, I wonder if the Better Press inks would be good for this, because those are an oil-based dye ink as well, and that might be something to try. I mean, I'm guessing you could probably fill, you know, pre-ink this with other brand inks. But I should have mentioned, besides these four, Silhouette does make a variety of different ink colors. So there's that. And so now we have a label. I know what ink is here. Now, why is there a second one? Well, there's a second one because if you always kept this particular ink pad, because remember, the ink pads are interchangeable, so you can always swap out a different ink pad onto your block. And so you can save a little bit of storage, get your money to stretch a little bit further, because for the same price, instead of a second block, you can get instead of a block, you can get a second ink pad or stamp pad. And so if you always intended for this to be mounted this way, what I would recommend is stamp out a second label, and then make sure that when you apply your label, if there's a right side up to your stamp, make sure that it's applied so that you're reading it the way that it's going to stamp out. That way you know when you stamp it which way is up. And so I would, you know, take care to kind of label it so that it makes your life easier when you actually go to use it, because the stamp can only be mounted in one way. This is designed so that it slots in, and it can only be mounted in this direction. So it will always be oriented this way. And that way, but when you're like this, you can't tell the difference. So if you do have a label here, then it would be helpful if your label actually was oriented however, you know, whichever way is top, so that when you go to stamp, you know what you're stamping. And I'm going to leave that off because I'm going to, well, you know, for this one I might always leave. I don't know if I'll buy more in this specific size, but you know, this is actually a good size for return address labels, to stamp a return address onto an envelope. So I actually might get another couple of stamp sheets in this size. So maybe that's a good use for that. So, I'm so glad that this worked out. I wasn't, you know, it's always a risk when you do these first look videos, and especially for making something that I've never made before. I think that this turned out pretty well. I'm really tickled by the idea and the fact that I can make my own custom stamps. It's a rubber stamp, so we'll see how long this holds up over time and how well it stamps. This is one that I knew would be the first I wanted to make, so that, especially with this system, I'm gonna try, but I don't know how successful I will be at actually counting out how many stamped impressions I can get. But because I'm gonna stamp this on the back of my cards, I'll be able to go through it pretty quickly, hopefully, and that way, hopefully, I'll have an idea for how long this first pre-inking lasts, and then also hopefully, because it's a stamp that I'll use a lot, I can maybe switch out colors and actually really try to get that line to be a second color. Or maybe I'll just redesign this so that there's more of a gap there, and then I can very intentionally design this so that it would be easier to make that line with the little swoopy heart as a different color to the text on here. So I'm excited. I'm really thrilled by this. And what I'll do, as I mentioned at the top of the video, is when I get the stamp forge, I'm gonna make the photopolymer version using that technology, and we can do a little bit of a compare and contrast in terms of how well it actually handles like fine, small print, like what's in this. So that'll be a very interesting comparison to do. All right, we'll save that for another video, and look for more tutorials on this. If you want to see that, let me know in the comments below. I'll strive to do at least one more tutorial with this one since I have it, and I'll be ordering myself some more stamp sheets. So thanks for checking this video out. If you have the Silhouette Mint, let me know what you think of it in the comments below. If you have any questions for me, I can't guarantee that I'll be able to answer them, but I'll try my best, and I'll try to look up the answer if I can do some research to help out, or if it's something to experiment with, I'm happy to do some experiments as well. Oh, I should also note, in terms of price, because I talked a little bit about the price of this, it's like $12 to $15, just, or more really, depending on the size. And these stamp kits differ in price. I have found that if you are on the Silhouette America website, that they tend to sell it at the most reasonable price that I've seen. The only thing is that they don't carry these two sizes. And so depending on the size, the price is going to vary. But what I've seen is a range anywhere between like maybe $5 for, remember, the kit, with the block and one stamp is the same as 2 stamps, no block. So I've seen the pricing range from $5 to maybe $15 and above, just depending on the size. And so, that's going to, you can do the math on the per stamp breakdown on that. But if you find yourself needing custom stamps, I mean, that's less expensive than this. And if you find yourself in my position where, I've changed my logo over time, and this is actually the second set that I've ordered. And each time I order it in black and in blue, because I just like to have the options. And so, I've spent almost as much buying these custom self-inking stamps as I did on this. And I think over time, just, as things evolve and as my needs evolve, this is going to actually end up being a little bit less expensive, with more options to change up the colors. And on the Silhouette America site, There's at least, I think, 12 different ink colors that you can get if you want to stretch beyond just the 4 that come included in this bundle. I think that's all of the information that I know off the top of my head. So look for more videos, and I'm excited. Look for that first look video on the We Are Makers stamp forge when I get it. Thank you again, and until next time, happy crafting and have a fabulous day. Bye.